Alberta on the plate, and I'm here as a guest host for Rumble Alberta, and we're at Better Than Fred's, and we are checking out some of the best barbecue here in Grande Prairie. You gotta come see this. All right, so I have to start off by asking, who's Fred?
Who is Fred? I wish I had a great story. Sometimes we've said that we should make something up, that I have a bad uncle that's named Fred that is just atrocious and he ruined my life, so I went and opened another restaurant in the same town and wrecked him. But I mean, it's ironic because when we bought this, it was called Sharks Billiards and Sports. And we wanted to do something different. So when I was in Boston, Kevin and I were just arguing about the name left, right, and center. And we had all these wild names and we could not agree on any name in the world. And then Kevin's wife one night out of nowhere said, "Hey John, do you remember that salsa you had?" And I said, "Yeah, Better Than Fred's Famous Picante." And she goes, "How do you remember that?" And I said, "It's a stupid name. But the salsa was really good, so I always remembered it. Better Than Fred's. Better Than Fred's." She goes, "You should steal that name because it's not trademarked in Canada." And that's exactly what we did. We took the name, put it up, and everybody. So, and most people just call us Freds. Mm-hmm. We're really just Freds. Like we did our new hat, it just says Freds. You know, we put the maple leaf on there, and it's been great. But yeah, it's very well received. I mean, I wanted to call it the Boneyard at one point, you know, and we were gonna have bones, 15, 25, 50 bones, you know. But in the Champagne Lounge upstairs, and now it's actually the Heineken room, I think. So.
All right, so tell me, what do you do here at Fred's? What are you known for?
You know, it's funny because we started off being known for nothing. We actually just were a pool hall. Mm-hmm. And we had local live music, pool hall, and our food was basic bar food. So my goal was I wanted to make a concept where you attracted more than just one clientele. Because one clientele is great, but when you have 5 clientele, so you have the kids playing pool, you have people that want great food, you have a live band on stage, you have a games room, it creates more for everybody. You know, and I always say, what's our age group? 18 to 80. And that's who comes to Fred's. And we've slowly developed the stage, and I brought in a sound engineer, so we dropped the ceiling, so all these tiles straight down are acoustic, and they carry the sound with an air pocket like that. We filled the stage with sand, we did the curtain, and now we've had bands play here, everybody from Moist with David Usher to the Tea Party to Big Wreck, the Trues, all the favorite Canadian bands, the Headstones, and it's Serena Ryder was here, Pop Evil's been here. Yeah, it's great, you know, and we've slowly developed it. And then we went after the barbecue, which is my business partner in Boston's. Yeah. And the story goes with that is we were downtown in Boston and we walked by the Copley Hotel and there was a sign in the window of Tennessee's and it said for sale. And Kevin was like, you know, I really want to do some great barbecue in Boston because he had moved back with his wife. And he was one of the founders of Moxie's and left the company, you know, so we walked in and this little old man was wonderful. And he said, "I'd like you to try my food." So we sat down and he filled our table with food. And Kevin looked at me and said, "How much do you want for the restaurant?" He goes, "Oh, I'm not selling the restaurant. The hotel doesn't want me anymore. They're renovating and changing." He goes, "I'm selling my recipe book." So Kevin looked at him, said, "How much do you want for the recipe book?" They negotiated and we walked out the door with the recipe book. And then we opened 5 Tennessees in the Boston area. And they're all small, like the size of a Subway, but they did extremely well. And so my thought was, we need to bring the food here, because no one was doing it in Canada and no one was doing it in Grande Prairie. And he fought me for it for about 3 years, and then finally I convinced him, and there was a chain that closed in Boston, so we literally got a truck, a trailer, and emptied the entire restaurant into this truck. We took everything, like the ducks in the ceiling, everything. You know, and we took it all and we shipped it back here, pulled up here, and we put our original smoker that's in the kitchen first. And we brought the recipes, and I'm telling you, it was the difference in night and day. All of a sudden we went from having 3-4 tables at lunch, a few at dinners, to just being full. And catering weddings, catering oil field companies, and you know, and the good thing about barbecue, which I don't know if you know or not, is it travels so well. Like I can take ribs out of that smoker, we'll smoke them 4.5 hours, I'll cut them all up, I'll put them in trays, lather some barbecue, seal them, and a guy will take them to Grand Cache in one of our hot boxes that keeps food at temp for 4.5 to 6 hours. And it travels well, so it's been exceptional.
So you've got a massive smoker
Yes.
in the back.
Yeah,
so
we
tell me
bought
about
that.
your smoker.
Well, we had to get the second one because the first one couldn't keep up. You know, the very first one in the front will only smoke a case of ribs, which is 12 racks. The back one will smoke 70 racks. So that helped us get way ahead. And most days that you're in here, you'll smell it because we're using both smokers at the same time. You know, like the back one is probably for the bulk. We do most of our pulled pork. We do the chicken wings because we sell tons of smoked wings. And most barbecue places don't even smoke their wings, which I was surprised at because if you try them, which you will, it's a difference in night and day. You know, in the back one, we can do all our weddings out of that if we're using the front one as well. So
your smoke, your favorite kind of smoke, what are you using?
hickory wood.
Hickory wood.
Yeah, Boston, we started off with apple, cinnamon, hickory, and cherry. We used all four, and they were incredible. But the hardest part is getting them. In Canada, it's really tough. We couldn't keep up. We used cherry or, you know, because cherry is like hard to get, whereas hickory seems to be the most mass supply. And I get it by the pallet out of Ontario.
Okay. That's
and
crazy.
we'll get it shipped up here to Edmonton. I take my truck, drive to Edmonton, pick up a cubic box that's filled to the top with wood chips, and then we'll literally fill 20 of those Rubbermaid containers. And then we just keep them in the back. And they do my dry rub too. Our dry rub's a secret recipe. I don't even know what's in it. I know ingredients, but I don't know how to make it. It's made by Newlywed Foods for us in Canada. And I can't even check the recipe because I'm not allowed. It's all under Kevin's name because he bought the recipes. I didn't, so. I'd like to know though at one point, but yeah, so that's my trips to Edmonton. I pick up dry rub, I pick up wood chips, and I pick up wood logs. Because as you know, chips burn quickly. So if you do pulled pork overnight or brisket, which is anywhere from 11 to 13 hours, we use logs because you soak them long enough, they burn long. Otherwise the chips are gone within an hour and then the smoker's just basically cooking it with heat. So.
Fort McMurray Wood Buffalo, where life takes shape.
So how long and how often do you have that smoker going in typical times, of course?
Every day.
Every day,
Every
all day.
Yeah. Yeah, because, well, we branched out and invented a bunch of stuff and stole a bunch. You know, food isn't really trademarked, so we eat everywhere we go. And we do things like we've got the Texas Twinkies, we've got the meatballs, you know, we smoke probably 10 different items at all times. So it's always going, always.
All right, and if people are coming here and you're saying my top 3 things that come out of the smoker that people can't live without, what are they?
It would be ribs number 1, wings number 2, and I would put it a toss between the Texas Twinkies and meatballs because those 2 items have been incredible.
Tell me what a Texas Twinkie is.
The Twinkie is you take a jalapeno pepper and you core it, you fill it with brisket, cream cheese, you wrap it in bacon and you smoke it. So if they're large, they don't have the bite, but if they're small, they'll kick your butt. Kick your butt. And then we do the meatballs, we have them and we dice up like mushrooms, peppers, onions, we put it in ground beef, we wrap them in bacon and put dry rub sprinkled and we smoke them as well. And they serve with a spicy marinara sauce.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And your smoked wings are huge.
Yeah, yeah, we rub them and we smoke them for an hour and 45 minutes. The thing that's tough for us for weddings and stuff that makes me laugh is that you have to educate your wedding. The first wedding we did, I'm by the garbage and all the plates are coming back with chicken and I'm like, what's going on here? Then a senior lady walks by and she goes, oh, I couldn't eat that chicken, it's raw. And I started laughing and I was like, oh no, real sign of smoke is red on the bone.
Right.
But you have to explain to people because up here no one had seen it before. So everybody was thinking that we were serving like raw food. And even now we'll get people that'll pull me to a table. These wings are raw and I'm like, no they're not.
Yeah.
They've been smoked for an hour and 45. They're held in a crest core of 160. Then they're done on the broiler. There's no way on earth that wing is raw. You know.
Not recognizing the smoke rings and all the different things. Yeah.
Yeah, the true sign of barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating. Okay, so your ribs. What kind of ribs are you doing out there?
We use pork ribs.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We do the Memphis style pork. And I like them because the size of them, you get more meat for your bone. The baby backs are great, but they're so small. You know, they turn into dust most of the time when you smoke them. You know, and the beef ribs are massive, so we feature the beef ribs here and there, but we don't really sell enough of them on a regular basis to sell them every day.
Right.
And they can be tougher, you know, whereas the St. Louis one is a perfect cut.
Right. So you've got your Alberta beef meatballs, you've got your pork for your ribs, and then your chicken.
Dixie chicken too. Yep.
You kind of got it covered there.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything on the menu. And I was really big on the fact that I wanted to make sure that our menu had more than just barbecue. Because if we go out to lunch and you both hate barbecue but I love it, we're not coming here.
You just need to find a different date.
Yeah. Or we turn around and we just fix our menu. So like right now we have an amazing salad called the sweet beet peach salad. You know, with goat cheese, sells off the planet. So that's one of our favorite salads. Our clubhouse is incredible. We did a buffalo chicken sandwich. We did a ton of burgers. We have a signature burger, a house burger we just invented that's that high. You know, it's stacked with onion rings, garlic aioli. It has pulled pork, cheese, bacon on it. It's a crazy burger and it's selling off the map. And then we did a meatball sub with the meatballs. I found an amazing raspberry spicy sauce, and then we put the meatballs in the sub and we bake it with cheese. And that's another one that's all of a sudden become one of our signature items, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of first date food.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a challenging year, but our food saved us for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and the one good thing about I call it the pandemic, but the pandemic is that we got into households that we've never been before. And that's what's neat. And like jumping on to skip the dishes, I didn't want to do it at first because they take 25%.
Yeah, which is
so I used my own drivers, which is my staff, so it jumped to 15, and then we upped our menu prices enough to make it so it's about 3%. So it doesn't kill us, doesn't hurt us any, but I'll tell you, the food that we sold when we first started is crazy. Like we were running nonstop, and like expoing every day was nuts. Like even starting tomorrow, I'm so excited not to package everything. I'm so tired of
put it on
food.
A plate and serve it.
Well, because you guys know too, the expense of that is obscene.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there was a point where we couldn't get to-go containers. We had to improvise and try anything we could because the whole world was on to-go, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I'm sure Skip the Dishes is really worried about everybody opening tomorrow too, because now they're going to go out again.
Yep.
You know, and you're going to become the back seat again, whereas they've been the premier site. I mean, they're worth billions because of it all. You know, you think the average restaurant is doing anywhere from 10 to 15 to 30,000 a week on Skip. Wow, I couldn't imagine their bank account every day. I'd like to, though.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we had Broken Oak came in and said, hey, would you like to do our vodka? And we tried it for a bit. And then Latitude came in, and one of our great regulars owns High Tech. Kevin Sakashny is part of Latitude. And he goes, why don't you let us make you a vodka? And I'm like, absolutely. So they played with this vodka for a while, and I finally fell in love with one I liked. And we came up with the label design with them, and it's sold like crazy. And the PowerPoint of it is that it's not crazy expensive. Like right now, I've been selling a 40 for $26.75, and that's like a 40-pounder, which is very cheap for 40 ounces of vodka. So we've done fun with that, and then we're going to get into way more T-shirts. Like I'm designing a hoodie, another hat, and probably 4 T-shirts for the spring, because I want to get into some really good clothing too. You know, and instead of having the funny stuff, I just want to work on our logo and make something really neat here as well. So. But yeah, the future looks bright. I'm gonna look at a patio next year. I've talked to the health inspectors here about doing I want to take cinder blocks, and I want to grab Bob, and we want to do a whole hog, just like they do in the States. And we want to sell tickets to it, build it out back permanently, and be able to do it like once a week and sell tickets, and you do the whole hog barbecue.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's incredible. Awesome. Rodney Scott does it in the States, and if you ever get a chance, watch Chef Table Barbecue. And Rodney Scott's on there, Tootsie's on there from Snow's Barbecue. There's an amazing guy on there that cooks with fire that has a restaurant in Australia. And it's only 4 episodes, but it inspires you. And I watched Rodney Scott, and I was like, I'm gonna try that here. Yeah. I would love to try that here. And like, he raises his own hogs. He cuts his own hickory wood on his land. Yeah. You know, this guy is unreal, and he's a real pro, and his whole family started off in that business, and then he branched out with a guy that wanted him to come to a restaurant with him. And it's a great story, and it's really neat. And his merch is incredible. And that's where I was looking at his merch going, I want to do some cool merch and not just silly, stupid, funny merch.
Yeah.
You know, something that's serious but really nice, you know, in the background. So, yeah, the sky's the limit.
That's fun. Tell us here what you're doing with local brew beer and local distilled products, because you're a huge supporter. For sure. I think that supporting local is the most important thing in the world for us and everybody else here. So Grain Bin has 2 taps. One rotates and they change it out. And then we've also brought in their beer. So we have their sour, we have their My Mom Thinks I'm Cool, which is the peanut butter stout. And then we also brought in one of their seltzers, and they sell really well.
you know. And then we had a little bit of another local brewery, but it just didn't sell. So I asked them if they could go back to the drawing board and come up with a different product so we could really promote and push it. But I mean, once a week our staff goes to a different restaurant and we always put it on social media, support local. You know, one of our guys that left here started 14 Food Co. around the corner, and his name is Carl, and it's great local sandwiches, and he's done a great job. So we always advertise him and push him hard. You know, Mad Hatters are friends of ours, the Crown and Anchor are friends, the Lion Den with Todd. You know, good local places to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've got some local artwork as well, so some murals outside.
Yeah, it's funny because when I owned Moxie's, there was a girl named Serena Love that worked for me there, and her talent is phenomenal. Like, first she got the Telus building, and she did that drawing, and it was incredible, and she won, so they put it on the side of the building. And then the city was really smart with the Downtown Association, which I'm part of, and we got into Art in the Alley. So we're trying to clean up all the alleys and paint them all and make them look great. And she's probably done, I bet you, 15 to 20 murals in the city, which you guys will find around. She did Freddie Mercury for us. You know, we toyed with different people and who to put up there, but I was like, at the time the Queen movie came out and Freddie Mercury is such a staple in music and such an icon, I was like, who won't know him? 10 years from now, you'll still know who that is, you know, which you might not say about this person or that person, right? So
down your back alley, you've got, what, about 4 or 5 different murals that are done by
all
her?
the way down. Yeah, and we've cleaned up the alley really nice too. So what our hope is to build a patio out there, you know, have maybe someone play on the roof, have white lights that go around, light the whole alley up, and really enjoy it for the summer. And that's our goal probably for next summer, once we get through all this, you know, so we're crawling our way back out of this like everybody else.
Yeah. So what do you want people to know about the food scene in Grande Prairie?
You know what, that local rules. That it's nice that people have their own creativity and are doing their own thing. You know, I was in Austin, Texas, and it was the same thing. I couldn't believe how many local places there were. And I think the chains are starting to fall to the wayside because people are starting to realize that, you know what, every city should have their own fare, have their own different style of food and their own people that are creative doing it. You know, I mean, I love the McDonald's concept, but I hate it. I don't want the same burger in every city. I want a different burger. I want a big burger, a small burger. I want a different thing that you're doing that's incredible. You know, and I think that's what local's all about, is your ideas. You know, and we're not done here. Like, I would love to branch out. One of my chefs is amazing, wants to do his own bistro, and I said, give us 2 years, let's do one. You know, I would love to do a bistro that's 30 people. You work Wednesday through Saturday, have Sunday, Monday off, plan your cooking, you go shopping Tuesday, plan your menu, you open Wednesday again. I think that would be amazing, you know? So, yeah, I think local's important. You lose local, what do you have? You know?
You may be from Alberta, but have you really seen Alberta? With its vast vistas and stunning locale, there's bound to be something for everyone. Visit rumblealberta.com now to plan your unique experience today.
Tannis Baker with Alberta on the Plate, and we're here with Rumble Alberta as guest hosting this episode. We are out at Rio Grande, which is just outside of Grande Prairie, and we're at Broken Tine Orchards. And we are just about to go taste some Haskap berries and some Haskap berry mead and wines. All right, so tell me, how long has your family been out farming in this area?
We're a 4th generation farm now. My kids will be number 5. They're both in college and university. We've farmed here since 1927. This orchard actually was 35 acres and it sits on the very original homestead.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Haskap berry? It's, you know, relatively new for a lot of people, so I'd love for you to explain the berry, what it is, what it tastes like, and what you're doing with it.
Sure. So the Haskap berry, as you can see right here, it actually just got done flowering only a few weeks ago, and some of them only a week ago. So it produces a flower very, very early in the spring, and it scares you because it actually, you're worried about frost, but it can take about a -5 frost for a short period of time. And they're extremely hardy. They're a zone 0. From the time that you have your flower to when your fruit is roughly in that range of about a month and a half, so it's actually very quick, and it's the first fruit of the season, so it fits absolutely perfect for in the northern area. I look back to the old people that homesteaded Haskap. If it would have been around then, would have changed the whole industry. It's very, very high in vitamin C. It tastes of a combination of a huckleberry and a raspberry. If you've ever had a wild huckleberry, they're a real tart but sweet berry. They grow in the mountains. Haskap take on that flavor, but a little bit of raspberry. And they're very similar in the fact that their seeds are tiny, they're hard to find, and the skins dissolve quite quickly. So they're a softer fruit. It makes it a little bit tougher to harvest because we do use mechanical as well, and so you want to have varieties and time of day right to actually harvest them without damaging them before you take them in and clean and process. But they're a beautiful fruit for eating fresh. They freeze wonderfully, so you can use them in any type of baking that you do with blueberries. They're just better, much more flavor. The coloring is probably twice that of blueberry. It's because the inside of Haskaps are actually blood red. They're not clear. So the anthocyanins within Haskap are about 2.5 times a wild blueberry.
That's great. Now, you've been very busy in Grande Prairie in the area and developing the Haskap because we are seeing it absolutely everywhere. So tell me a little bit about the different partnerships that are unfolding.
Sure. When we first got into Haskap, nobody knew what a Haskap berry was, and let alone pronounce Haskap. It's a tough berry to pronounce the name. And we wanted to put it into comfort food right away so people would actually be more apt to try it, because it is a little bit of a funnier looking berry. So people are always hesitant on something new. So our very first thing that we did was to get it on top of cheesecakes. And our local IGA has been fantastic to help supporting local, and that they went from selling about one cheesecake a day to the first week selling 20. So it was just a huge skyrocket because of what Haskap can do on top of dairy in particular. And then from there, we've always been trying to approach restaurants, other manufacturers. Our local brewing industry has skyrocketed in the last 5 years. So it was an easy approach for us as well, because they're all wanting to support local and coming up with new fantastic flavors. And so we've been able to work with some really, really great companies in the area, and we try to help them out and promote them, and they do the same thing back. And it's just been a fantastic experience. And then we get to showcase it to other chefs, and they get to try it. And I think it's key really to work with other local producers and trying to get it out to the consumers in the area, because they're all about supporting local as well. It's just been great.
Right. So now you have been working with local brewers, because we're seeing Haskap beers, and local distillers. So tell me a little bit about who you're working with.
Sure. Grain Bin in Grande Prairie has been an unbelievable supporter with us. We've done, I think, 3 different beers with them, 2 of them major award winners that they've done. And so they're all about creating new flavors there. They have some wild flavors, and there's been great trying the Haskap. So they've been a huge supporter from the start. Broken Oak is fairly new to the area, but right away we approached them, one, because they had a cool name. and after that, we actually have worked with them and got a liqueur out. A Haskap liqueur, I wanted them to get them into some awards because it's a fantastic liqueur. And they also have a Prairie gin, both with our Haskaps as well. And so they've been a local, but then we've also got it down into other breweries that have tried it, you know, whether it be from Snake Lake or Folding Mountain, and it's starting to expand outward. And especially now with us involving and joining the group with Vitaliberry. We were one of the founding members of Vitaliberry Farms, formerly North 49 Fruit. And it gives us further reach then because of production. The hardest thing when you have a big company wanting to use the berry is making sure then they can have production. And if we have a crop failure, and then they can't make their product, that's a problem. And so when you have other producers, then you don't have that problem anymore. And so it's allowed us to expand into the Cisco's and GFS's and some of the bigger players like Foothills Creamery that have really jumped on as well. Ice cream has been a key for us. If you get a chance to try the Haskap Prairie ice cream, that's by Foothills or Village in Calgary or McKay's. They've been one of our original purchasers of Haskap berries. We won an award in 2015. McKay's ice cream put it in, and I won Dairy Product of the Year, and that was 2015. And ever since then, Foothills came on board, and they're our biggest purchaser now, and it's a mainstay now, that ice cream. So it's called Haskap Prairie ice cream, and then there's a North 49 honeyberry from Village in Calgary, and they're also, it sells really well there. The Haskap goes really well, especially with very good ice cream, because it's such a tart, dense fruit. That flavor is powerful, and so real dairy complements it wonderfully. So yeah, it's just been wonderful. All the local support's been great. So a lot of people ask, where does Broken Tine Orchard, where's the name from? This is where it's from. So this is a common occurrence in the spring, is the white-tailed deer shed their antlers every fall, and they drop them into our fields, and a lot of times we either drive over them or they get worked up and they break off a tine. This spring I had it happen to me again. One of these went right into our big tire and flattened our big tractor tire. So it's actually a very common occurrence to find broken tines.